All right, y'all. Hello, hello. We have made it to the final Tuesday, right? The final week, the final session of our building through their eyes, women in the community. I am joined by Miss Jackie Villegas. You all. So first, let me say this because we're talking about women in the community. I'm going to show their um, overlap for just a moment. So Jackie and Ashley are the two ladies that were scheduled to join us today. And just kind of what happened a little bit last week, honestly, y'all duty calls. When you're about this work sometimes duty calls and you have to go ahead and tend to that. So Ashley is handling some business. Super, super excited that Jacqueline could still make it. And so here we are. All right. So again, thank you for joining and tuning in. You all, as we get started, y'all know we kind of like to loosen up a little bit. We have a couple of questions that we'll ask Jacqueline. So what would you say? What would you say is the most daring thing that you've ever done?
I think the most daring thing I've done this year is finally saying enough is enough. That I have been pouring into everyone else and not pouring into myself. So this year is self care 2023 for me. And a lot of people having problem with it because I'm saying no, I'm creating boundaries, have limits. If you want to have lunch with me, you got to schedule it. Like that's how
Yeah.
busy I am now.
hmm Yeah, and imagine that you set those boundaries, but still have all these tasks, and you're so busy.
Yes.
One thing I've heard people say is, not only thinking about it as, oh, I'm telling someone no, but when you tell someone else no, you're saying yes to yourself, though, right?
Exactly.
So
Yes.
I love that reframe. I love that. So, what is one thing? So, I mean, there might be a similar response, or what is one thing that you're proud of from this past year, an accomplishment?
So from this past year, I'm proud that I started my healing journey.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's interconnected. Um, I said enough is enough. I'm going to pour into myself, right? And that I am going to ensure that everything that I do is for me as well. Likewise, just making sure that people align with me too. Because I was being a people pleaser. I was
Mhm.
trying to please everyone, and when you're trying to be a people pleaser, you have to think about what you're gonna say before you say it, what you're gonna do before you do it. Because what if they're not gonna like it, and what if they're gonna judge me? I said, you know what? That's it. I'm gonna be me, and it is what it is. People will take it for what it is. So starting that healing journey because that was affecting my depression and anxiety.
I was gonna say when people talk about people pleasing, that moving that way is very heavy. So that that's not surprising to hear. The anxiety and depression was coming with that because it's the opposite, right? It was saying no to yourself, but yes to everyone else. So,
Exactly.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for that vulnerability.
Of course.
Yes. So I know you as Jackie V, right? We've had a number of conversations and interactions, but please do take this time, introduce yourself to the people, talk about the work you do, your plans, who you serve.
Okay, so I do a lot,
Yeah.
right? I do a lot.
Yes.
I do go by Jackie, so Jackie Villegas. I am 29 years old. I'll be 30 this year. So woo, woo, 30s. And I set myself a goal. I said by 30, I want to do this, this, this. And I've met them. So I am a community outreach coordinator for Entering Wellness Mental Health LLC. I am building this department from the ground up. Entering Wellness Services individuals 5 to 65 years old that have a mental health concern. They don't have to have a diagnosis, they just have a concern. They want help. We're going to give them the help. And we are different that we do our services in home. So the fact that we've eliminated that barrier of having to come to us, we're coming to you to provide you the services. So we service 5 to 65 as long as they have Medicaid. So that's one thing I do, right? Another thing I do, I'm a big community activist and leader. I'm a part of a nonprofit's board. The nonprofit is called Community Awareness with a Purpose Cares, so COP Cares. I am their secretary as well as their chairperson to their new first 5 years program that they have established this year. In addition to that, I'm a part of a HPTN 069 Health Equity Coalition, striving to make change with agents to end the epidemic of HIV. And I am a wellness advocate. Of course, if I'm working for a mental health and wellness agency, I am a wellness advocate. I am all about self-care, doing what's best for you. You know, everyone's healthiest self is different. There's
Mhm.
not one size fits all for everyone. And I want people to understand that you can't just simply tell someone, oh, why don't you just take medication? Excuse me, that doesn't work for everyone. It didn't work for me. It did not. I was a zombie when I was on medication, and I said, that's not for me. I'm gonna do the holistic way, and everything I do is holistic, and it's what works for me. So someone else, they may need medication and holistic and therapy. For me, it's just holistic methods and cognitive therapy. So I that's part of my healing journey. I'm in therapy. In addition to that, I am an autism awareness advocate. My oldest son has autism. He's 8 years old. He was diagnosed at 4.5. So autism is like a big autism awareness is a big part of my heart. And I just want individuals, the community to know that, there are a lot of kids, teenagers, adults that have autism.
Mhm.
So, don't take it personal if they don't look at you in the eye. Don't take it personal if they don't want to hug you. Like, honestly, with my kids across the board, you don't have to hug anyone if you don't want to, right? That's creating boundaries. They get to say no because that's okay to say no. And as I always say, my mantra is inhale and exhale every day. I say that across all my videos. I post that on everything that I post on my public platform. So I'm also an influencer, a wellness advocate influencer, and autism advocate influencer. So I do both of those on my platform. I am also a mompreneur. So I have my own event planning and rentals business called Jackie's Events LLC. It's on Instagram and Facebook and website as well. I love what I do. It's all interconnected. Everything that I do is coordination, planning. So I say, you know what? I can have my own business doing this because I love it and I'm good at it.
Right.
So
I was gonna say, even though we named like 5 or 6 things, right?
yes,
They're definitely all connected for sure.
yeah, so I established that last year because I was doing it for free, prior to, but I established it last year. And I have additional businesses that I'm planning. I'm going to establish two DBAs, event venue, a barn called J&E's Barn. So that's up and coming. It's in the works already. And J&E's Tacos to add that as an add-on with our events services. Because
Mhm.
you need food too. Well, we do
Yes.
tacos.
Well, we know it's not a good celebration, right? If there's no food, we know that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then one last thing that I am
Mhm.
working on is I am still trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this. I want to um, I want to be able to support parents with autism in some shape, way, or format. And what I keep coming back to is to having a center where different things are going on, because parents with children with disabilities actually is what I want to have a business for, to support parents with children with disabilities. Because you hear about supporting the children and the teenagers and the individuals who have disabilities, but what about the support to the caregivers?
Yeah,
We
I feel like we will find that across wellness, like often the caretakers, the caregivers is it's an afterthought too often. We both know a lot about the education world, and so that's a big thing as well, for sure, right? That
Mhm.
yes, we're here, we're showing up to support the young people, but we definitely need to make sure that check-in, their first point of check-in, and that the adults are secure and okay if
Yeah,
they're
because
the ones working with the young people. Go ahead.
Yes, because I'm gonna say I experienced so much burnout.
Mhm.
Even to this day, sometimes it just gets to be a lot because unfortunately, with the education system, because I used to work for the education system too. So I have both personal and professional experiences. And it's a lot of advocacy. You got to do a lot for your child. And it's ridiculous the amount of advocacy and meetings that we have to call to order and paper trails that we have to cover ourselves so they don't say that we never talked to them. So, it's just a lot comes with that. So burnout is real for parents who have children with disabilities, having to push so much, advocate for them so much.
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely, definitely. So I know you're doing that work and focusing on how to streamline and support. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how these details continue to go.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
So thinking about Women's History Month, right? We say we're having a conversation, and I keep saying Women's History Month, but also Women's Future. Yeah.
Yes,
So, what ways do you feel that women have been instrumental in shaping today and shaping women present?
I think that it's gotten us to the point where we can actually be seen as the CEOs and owners, and be hired for those positions. Before, women would be seen as, oh, they're too emotional, they can't handle this, it's too much. And we've come a long way to where now you see a lot of directors, executive directors, CEOs, women owners, mompreneurs, because moms can do it too. So
Mhm.
it got us to where we're at, where now, yes, we are also capable of being leaders. Just because we're women doesn't mean that we're not capable of doing it.
And you know what? That thought that people would say, oh, they're too emotional. Even as a girl, I was really confused by that because I'm like, well, everybody has emotions. So why are we?
Right.
So why are we? Why is it that they say women are and girls are too emotional? I promise that was always the most puzzling thing to me. I was like, well, what? What? Anyway, what are some of the biggest challenges you feel like your community slash the community is facing right now?
I think right now, the Hispanic Latin community, there's disparities all the time, right? There's a lot of civic, the systemic, right? The systemic oppression. And I always say black and brown because
Mhm.
I feel that sometimes we're like in the same boat, you
Somos
know?
primos. Yes. Yes.
We're always in that same boat. And it's just, trying to get, through the government, right? Trying to get through the local people, the state people to understand, like, look, there's still disparities in equality. And when is enough? Enough is enough. We've reached a point where we're already, in 2023. And how is it that we are still going through this? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And in the community that I work for, same thing. The fact that it is so difficult for them to know of the resources that are in their immediate community.
Mhm.
um, like the company that I work
Education
for,
piece is huge.
it's
That's
big. It's like, why do they not know? It's like it's purposely made. Like, it's just that there's a system in place that making it difficult for them to access the information. Or also it has to do with the lack of education with technology,
mhm.
because if they just simply knew what keywords to put in a search in Google, right, to
Mhm.
find what they're looking for, there will be so much to pop up. But also the small nonprofits and the small businesses, as in like entering wellness, we fall, like we're in the back burner because we're small.
Yeah.
So they don't know about us. They don't know about
And
the
they're
small.
right there in the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? And as you're talking and saying that, I feel like you're answering some of your questions about what may happen at your support center for the adults.
Yes.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes. It's all connected.
Yes. So, in terms of the impact, because it's a number of things, all of the different hats that you wear, they are connected. But how do you measure your impact that you're having?
So my impact, the way I measure it is the fact that people start to reach out, right? They
Hmm.
begin to reach out to us, and then they tell someone else. So someone will reach out to me and be like, "Hey, so and so told me," and I know who that so and so is. I talked to that so and so maybe 2 days ago, and then it just keeps happening. People keep calling, people keep reaching out, following me on Instagram, messaging me on Instagram, asking me for this or telling me, that what I share is actually making an impact in their life.
Hmm.
So that's how I measure it, getting all these calls. Like, it's what I'm doing is making a difference. I'm making an impact. Because if I didn't, people wouldn't be reaching out. People wouldn't, now know about us.
So you're being sought after for sure, for sure. So you talked about it some, and more so, I guess the need for the education in technology. But okay, best case scenario, what role do you feel like technology could play in the work that you do?
Oh, it can be so essential.
Mhm.
Simply educating our older community, right? Because the older community, like, I'll give you an example with my mother. Like, my mother-in-law was needing some dental work, and she was like, "What can I do? Who can I reach out to? Maybe I'll just drive to Mexico." And I was like, "You don't got to do all that. Yes, it's expensive here, but I pulled it up right away on my phone because I already knew where to go to get it." And
Mhm.
I told her, "There's Parkland, there's this clinic, low scale, uh, fee or free, like, here." If she just knew what to use, like, just Google and put dental plus free low cost,
Mhm.
all of that information would have been at the palm of her hands. So it's simply giving them that knowledge, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, doing it in the community. That's essential. Making sure it's happening in the communities that need that education, because you can't simply say that, "Oh, I'm going to go, let's just say, North Dallas, where there's a high involvement, of community people, of the community there. They're highly involved. They already know this information."
Mhm.
So target the areas that matter, which is the low income, high risk populations. Sunny South Dallas, Oak Cliff, West Dallas. Those are the areas that really need this class in their community,
Mhm.
showing them simple keywords, simple phrases that you could put in your phone, and just providing them with already a folder of resources that
Mhm.
they have on hands, and teaching them how to look for resources that maybe is not in that folder once they step out of that room.
Okay, so you definitely are feeling like, and I'm agreeing with you that
Mhm.
technology would help with accessibility and education. And so, do you feel like that would help with some of the systemic issues still, or no? What do you think?
I, I think so. Yes, it does too. Because if people knew how to research, what is the new bill that is going to come up, and they understood what that bill meant in lay
Mhm.
terms, which there is actually a nonprofit organization that does that now. They're called Somos Tejas. They actually go into the communities and canvass the areas and hold, like, short, forums to
Mhm.
inform of what the upcoming election is and what each individual stands for in lay terms.
Mhm.
Because I think there's purposefully things that are posted on the campaigners page or just in the general.
Complicated.
It is so doggone
Mhm.
complicated. Like, myself, if it wasn't for Somos Dejas, I would not understand what is on the campaigners page.
Mhm. Mhm. So, also with that in mind, if we're talking about, using technology to help with the education, to help with accessibility to services, to resources, what if someone really wants to get involved, but they're like, Jackie, I don't know where to start? What advice, what suggestions would you give them? Someone's like, I know I could be doing more. I see, I want to help. They're trying to move past sympathy to empathy, right? They're provoked to action. What suggestions and advice do you have for them?
So that's funny you say that because I just had this conversation with someone on Saturday.
Mhm.
So, and I have this conversation all the time. I'll be honest. There's always someone that asks me.
Mhm.
Being that I have a social work degree, it has my background, and that I have case management experience, it's very easy for me to be able to be like, okay, this is where we're going to start.
Mhm.
So if you're someone who wants to take action, I always say, find your local organization in your immediate community that is already doing the things that you want to do.
Not necessarily the big one, right? That's what you're saying, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about the grassroots, boots on the. Okay.
Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. So I'm gonna give you a prime example. Like in sunny South Dallas, you have Not My Son.
Mhm.
They're a nonprofit organization, and they focus on beautification of the communities where they're like wanting to shut them down because it just looks, for lack of a better term, tore up from the floor up.
Mhm.
So Not My Son said, you know what? No, we are going to be the change agents in this, and we're going to get this place cleaned up so that you guys that want to come in here and tear up the community don't have the opportunity to do that, because we're beautifying it, we're taking care of it, we're educating our community that all we got to do is get together, rally up, and everyone else who wants to come in here and destroy the community, the community, like the actual, this is
Right.
our community, don't have the opportunity to do that. So I always say, find the people that are boots in the ground doing the work. Not My Son is doing it in sunny South Dallas. Somos Tejas is targeting Oak Cliff area, surrounding Oak Cliff. Oak Cliff is huge. You have West Oak Cliff, North Oak Cliff. Oak Cliff
Yeah,
is big.
that's that's new.
Mhm.
But yes, but Oak Cliff is big.
Oak Cliff is huge. So
Mhm.
if you look at it, so yes, I always go first, find, because some people tend to think, oh well, I start my own nonprofit. That's the solution. And coming from someone who did that, and I had to dissolve my nonprofit because it takes a lot. Like, at least now I know what it takes to run a nonprofit, right? So that when I am working in collaboration with nonprofits and they tell me right now we're busy, I understand why they're busy, because
Mhm.
I know what goes on in the background.
Especially a lot of paperwork with nonprofits,
Yes.
lots and lots.
So I tell them, you don't have to start a nonprofit. Find someone who's already doing it.
Align yourself, yes.
Mm-hmm. Don't
Mhm.
stress yourself out. And if you have a program idea, propose that program to them, and then they'll say, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and implement that as an add-on with our services.
Mhm. Look, true partnership and community work, right?
Yes,
So where it
it's
doesn't have to
all
be,
about partnership and community. I am big on that.
because even just this comment, and I know you talked about election things earlier, but because sometimes that's its own double-edged sword. Like, oh, I'll just start my own, but if everybody's doing the same thing and you're splitting the community, you're making the community choose, then no one is as successful as they can be versus uniting
Yeah.
and backing each other. Those
It
connections.
it is as Ples Montgomery, he's the executive director for the Oak Cliff Veggie Project. They're a small nonprofit but mighty. He always says this, and I always quote him. It is a community and cooperation versus competition.
Definitely. Look, I love that quote. And I see that Ashley has popped on. I'm gonna add her to the stream so she can introduce herself and maybe answer this last question we have. Let's see. Hey, Ashley.
Good afternoon, ladies.
How are you doing today?
Listen, I'm always on the run. I'm just leaving the courthouse. I'm actually in the parking lot, so I'm so sorry for my tardiness.
No, look, you're okay, but I think that this your timing is actually perfect for this last question then. So one of the last questions I had is in terms of your community work. So what do you do to make sure you're prioritizing your balance between for both of you all though I feel like a lot of your professional and community life is the same as lo mismo, but what about your personal life? So how do y'all balance those? And Ashley, you can go first.
I think it's just prioritizing needs before wants. I wanted to join this conversation. I'm sure it was a powerful one. I'm going to go back and watch the replay, but I have to be a model to my 7-year-old. We love to talk about organizing and action, and a part of that is the responsibility to come to the courthouse when you're called, right? So I have to make sure that I tell my son and those people, my students, and anybody who follows me, not just to be about the talk, right, and to complain, but when we do actually get those calls, to come and either do jury duty or whatever it is, our civic duties, that we also do those as well so that we're taken seriously. So prioritizing needs versus wants and knowing when to take a step back when you're feeling overwhelmed will help you be the recharged leader and the responsible leader that you need to be to lead others.
Now, see, yes, we would think that you were here for the whole conversation. I promise. We're gonna, I'm like, yep, check and check. Yep. All right, Jackie, you want to add anything to what Ashley said?
Likewise, I concur with everything she said. It is all about work-life balance. It is what it is. I'm a full-time working mom, mompreneur, community activist, community leader. In order to be able to balance all that and still be home and present and in the present, right? That goes back to mindfulness. I always talk about mindfulness on my public platform. You need to be present there in the moment, because this journey that we call life, there is no promises that you have the next day. So you have to balance it all. You must balance it all. You can't put too much over here, because then over here is going to go like this. So you have to balance it out. There's times where I have to say no. There's people that have reached out to me ever since 2023, ever since I started being true to myself, stop pleasing everyone, saying, oh, you want to be a part of our nonprofit? You want to be a part of our coalition? I'm sorry, but I've already made my commitments, and all I can do is maybe volunteer. Maybe. I'm not making that promise either. And they'll be like, well, you can bring your kids. Cool. I'll be there then. If they say I can bring my kids along with me, I will be there, because it is essential to teach your children as well to be involved in the community and give back. It says it in the Bible. I don't know here, but it says it in the Bible. You must give back to those who are less fortunate than you. And that's what I'm instilling in my kids as well. And they come along with me when I'm doing my business, with my event planning business, when I'm doing community leadership, volunteering. They're right there, right beside me, doing the work too.
I mean, ladies, y'all talking about modeling, being that example in every way possible, right? But also being true to yourself and checking your capacity. That's what I call it, your capacity, whether or not it's realistic. And the reality is it can change from day to day, right? It looked good when it was on the calendar 2 weeks ago. Then the closer we get, it might be different. But having that real moment, that real conversation with yourself.
With yourself, exactly.
Absolutely.
This happened to me yesterday. I was supposed to go to the Capitol yesterday for HIV Advocacy Day for the coalition that I'm involved in. And I had to message them late night Sunday and said, look, I have a lot of things going on right now. Some family stuff. I'm going to have to back out. I'm sorry. I cannot go. I'm so sad I can't go, but I had to check myself. I did. I had to sit there. I was contemplating the whole day. Should I not? Should I text him? And I did, because at the end of the day, it was to take care of myself, my well-being, and that of my families.
And I want to take a moment to applaud you for that, because I think sometimes we deal with beating ourselves up in the guilt of not being able to do it all. And I am so in 2023, soft girl season, I'm putting myself first. And once I'm able to put myself first, I'm the best leader that I could possibly be. I just had the flip-flop. I was dealing with, should I go to the Capitol? Should I go to the Capitol? Because I'm going to go with my sorority. And I've never gone. And I want to advocate. I want to impact. I want to empower. And how am I going to do that if I'm not able to personally meet those legislators who are passing these bills that directly impact my child and my community? So I will be attending the Capitol, the day at the Capitol tomorrow. So again, we have to give ourselves grace when we have to say those no's, but still mean those no's.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, y'all. Just so many layers. But the thing is, just whatever it is in that moment, your bigger picture, your capacity, right? What your focus is, what your goal is. Ashley said she had to check what her goal was. Like, okay, no, I do need to pull up. I need to be there, because the ultimate goal is that relation, that connection, so we can be clear, right? And we can be understood, and increasing the visibility and the knowledge of the hows and whys. This is how we feel, and this is how we're moving. So Listen, y'all, because we the three of us, I know that especially the two of y'all, this conversation will go. But we are right at our time. But before we leave, I want you all to let people know how to get in touch with you, where they can find you.
Okay.
Your
So
social
on Instagram and Facebook, my handle is the same. It's Mrs. Villegas. So the Mrs. Villegas _ wellness advocate.
For myself, I'm not really on Instagram. I am, but I'm not. So I'm not going to even give that handle. But on Facebook, I am Ashley S. Foxworth. I also have my company page, the Educational Equalizers LLC. You can find me on both of those. I am also the Tampa Hillsborough chapter of the NAACP's Education Chair. So you can also go to that link through the NAACP and reach me at that office.
Yes, I know that was a recent announcement. So congratulations on that again, Ashley.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. So I wanted to just close with this quote and then we'll wrap up our stream. So we know we're closing out Women's History Month. And so just to be clear, this quote from G.D. Anderson: feminism isn't about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives that strength. Okay. All right. So people that are tuning in and have tuned in, thank you so much. Make sure you continue to say hello. If you're catching the replay, don't forget to put #replay so we know that you're out there supporting and listening. And join the conversation, please. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.